You're listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast, celebrating hunting dog heritage, competition, and community. United Kennel Club has been the hunting dog sports home for coonhounds, beagles, retrievers, pointers, cur, feist, and more for over 125 years.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. This is Trevor Wade, Coonhound Program Manager at UKC, and I'm joined by Mr. Alan Gingrich, the Director of Hunting Ops. How you doing today, Alan?
Doing very well. How about you?
Good. Still recuperating from Autumn Oaks and getting zone packets out and all that good stuff.
That's such a whirlwind of a weekend, isn't it? And then coming home, Monday you have off for Labor Day, but then it's right back at it again, getting ready for the world hunt and all that good stuff, and you don't get much of a break.
Bloodline deadlines, and then you got the pre-entries closed for the world there at Autumn Oaks, and it's just a lot at one time, and it's busy, but
yeah, not
to
mention the paper trail from Autumn Oaks to take care of as well.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But even you had an event this past weekend, the weekend after Autumn Oaks, right?
Yeah, it's a beagle event that we have a pretty big one for us, actually. The McVeigh Memorial. It's held over in Coshocton, Ohio. Don McVeigh Sr., who was actually a coon hunter, used to hunt black and tan dogs back in the day.
I actually heard you guys talking about it on this podcast a few episodes back. You can go back and listen to them talking about that.
Yeah, I had a couple of the McVeigh boys on the podcast, so yeah. I had a great turnout there. They hunted over 400 entries over the weekend, so it was good. And that one, I get a chance to hunt a dog in it if I want to on that one, and I did. And man, that's always a blast. You and I, we don't get to hunt nearly as much or whatever, but when you do, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And just reminds you again how much you like to compete and those little beagle hounds, man, I've always loved them. They're just as much fun, I feel, or for me anyways, as the coonhounds were, but no, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Hunted a nice little dog.
The weather pretty decent up there. We've had kind of getting cooler. You can feel all fall in the air the past couple weeks, seems like.
You sure can, and just traveling out there this last weekend, I was out there for 3 days coming back, man, the crops are turning, and just every day you can tell the difference after 3 days. So fall is definitely on the horizon. You can feel it in the air.
I've been hunting the fire out of my dogs the past couple of weeks because I know we get to zones in the world finals here in these next 2 weeks. There's not going to be much hunting to do there. But man,
how's that little pup coming along?
He's been doing okay. He's still doing some things that we got to straighten up. But I've been hunting him and the older the 3-year-old Walker dog, both Hank and Chipper, both, and I'd never hunted them together very much. And the other night, after we were at a high school football game Friday night, I took my daughter out there, and she eats it up. She likes watching the cheerleaders right now. Not much on the football game, but she likes the cheerleaders. But she wanted to go hunting afterwards.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to hunt the young dog. She wanted to hunt the older dog. So we gathered them both up, and it's the first time I've hunted them together in a long time. I just don't like leading 2 dogs at the same time.
Yeah.
I never have. So.
Yeah.
So we cut them both loose right here. Probably the best spot I have to tree a good coon, and wanted her to have an easy walk in there. And these 2 boneheaded male dogs racehorse down this road bed all the way through this mile section. They were 0.8 in 3 or 4 minutes.
Oh boy.
We drive around. We get within 250, 300 walking yards of them. So not a bad walk.
Yeah.
We found some trails to walk in there, so it wasn't bad at all. But the 3-year-old Walker dog, he wasn't treeing very hard, and I wasn't sure what the deal, if they were having some issues at the tree or what, but when I got in there, he was panting worse than I've ever seen him do before. And it was a nice night. It was low 60s, mid 60s with not much humidity, 60, 70% humidity, which is not terrible for early September night. And man, he pulled him off the tree, panting a lot, and his back end just wasn't seeming right, and I got scared to death, and my wife was making it even worse. She was scaring me to death. So we get him to the truck, and I'm pouring water on him. And I want to give props to Heath Hyatt. I listen to his stuff on The Journey on the Houndsman XP podcast all the time. He does a great job of talking about stuff that an ordinary coon hunter doesn't know about, the health of dogs and the different training techniques and stuff like that. And talking about some of the things that he's seen with his bear packs and his canine dogs as far as heat exhaustion goes. And he kind of talked me off the ledge because I was a nervous wreck for a bit.
Yeah.
I've hunted him all summer, and I think just competing with that young dog and getting in there, it kind of took him an extra gear because it's just a weird night, strange night.
Kind of overdid it a little bit, but he's fine now, huh?
Fine, he's good. He's raring to go. So I haven't hunted him the past 3 nights now. So 3 or 4 nights, whatever Friday was. It's Tuesday now, so we're gonna gave him a couple nights off, and I may ease him out tonight. He's cool today.
Yeah.
And just let him stretch his legs.
Did you get a chance to put your Pathfinder 2 on him yet?
Play
with it a little bit?
I've been using my Dogtra Pathfinder 2 a lot, and I like it a lot.
Yeah.
We've been in talks with Dogtra about their stuff, and man, I got nothing but rave reviews for my Pathfinder 2.
Yeah, well, good.
Sure am liking it. But on today's podcast, I guess it's time to kind of get into it and talk about some other dogs besides ours. Today we're going to start out talking about the Triple Crown now that Autumn Oaks is over. Our second leg of our Triple Crown program's over. And then we're going to finish this podcast out talking about the results from the rural proposal meeting at Autumn Oaks this 2 weekends ago. So we're going to finally put that out there for everyone to hear.
Sounds good to me. So, yeah, I'm sure we've whittled them, the Triple Crown contenders. We started with, 20-some, 21, 2, 3, something like that. But usually after Autumn Oaks, whittles them down, narrows down the field. So, looks like we have, 3 or 4 remaining?
Yeah, we narrowed this list down quickly. Like you said, we had 20 beforehand, 20 double cast winners at Winter Classic going into this Autumn Oaks event. And 3 of those 20 actually ended up getting a cast win at Autumn Oaks. And we'll shout them out here. Grand Night Champion 3, Black River Poncho, owned by Chad McCoyne and Brad Heil in Hartford City, Indiana. Night Champion Indian Creek Nova, English Hound, owned by Gregory Wallace of Randolph, Alabama. And Night Champion 15 South Merle, an English male, owned by Trent Willoughby of Watkinsville, Georgia. Those 3 were able to add to their point total and now sitting at 150 points. Yeah,
so 3 dogs kind of separated them from the rest of the field. Now, that's usually the way it works. We usually end up, this is very common, but so yeah, it'll be interesting now. Eyes on these 3, but as I understand, it might only be 2.
Yeah, really quick. It went from 3 to 2 when we started looking at qualifying list and these dogs' wins record, and we realized that the Merle dog, Trent Willoughby, they failed to qualify for the world. I'm not sure if he even hunted in any RQEs or what, but it just didn't work out for him this year, and it's going to eliminate him from contention. And
the reason it eliminates him is because to be eligible, you have to compete and enter and compete in all 3 of our Triple Crown events, Winter Classic, Autumn Oaks, and the World. So not being qualified, he won't be able to compete in the World, so that knocks him out regardless. So yeah, he's unfortunately that we'll be just down to the 2 dogs now.
Yeah.
So, but it's not. They don't have it wrapped up. They're in a good position right now, but that doesn't mean they have it wrapped up.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit upstairs before we came down here to do this, and we still have 21 dogs that are tied with 100 points. A lot of them are no longer in contention, also for the same reason as the others. Either they didn't compete at Autumn Oaks, or they're not competing at the World Championship. They're not qualified for that. But there's still some out there that I think are going to have a fighter's chance. The chocolate chip dog, Herb Landers and Debbie Landers and Rex Robinson. They're right there. They have double cast wins. They compete at Autumn Oaks, are qualified for the World. The Sharpie dog, David Magram, Kraken, and Trevor Hack and Grant Whitmer. You're not going to count them out. They always do good at the zones.
Yeah, another big name I see on this list still with 100 points, Conor McGregor. They don't get much bigger than that dog this year.
Yeah, you'll see Conor McGregor, and then right under him, you'll see Scar, that J.R. Gray's actually hunting now that he sold McGregor to someone else.
Yeah.
And he's sure liking that female. Scar's actually off a couple of world champions.
Yeah, Emmy and Willie. Yeah.
So we're seeing that cross make a lot of fireworks here on the scene the past year. So there's some tough outs here. E-Step with King Rolo, they've done good. They're still in a prime position to make a run at it. But Poncho,
old Wipeout Jim is on here too. Still
Wipeout Jim, yes, he's on
Johnny
here, but
Brown's
he did not get qualified for the World Championship.
He didn't. Okay, well there you go. Same thing for him.
Yeah. So, but talking about those are the dogs that are tied with 100 points now. These 2 here with 150 that are qualified for our World Championship, Nova and Poncho, they can make life pretty tough on these other competitors pretty quick at the zones this coming weekend.
Yeah, so let's see talk about what these dogs are here. I've got Indian Creek Nova here. She is a 2018 model, born in May of 2018. That is off of River Swamp Crow. Crow is sired by the world champion Top Gun. And then on the bottom side, it's Looney's Big Oconee River Lolo, and her sire is Big River Dan, Mark Looney's English hound that he has down there. I believe he won the Grand American, I'm going to say probably about 8 to 10 years ago. Big River Dan was one of Mark's good hounds that he had. So that's the pedigree on Indian Creek Nova. That's owned by Greg Wallace of Randolph, Alabama. Randolph, Alabama, I looked it up before we came down here, but that is dead center Alabama is where he's from.
So he's doing some traveling.
He is. Yeah, he is. So, but he is. There's a female, so a male and a female, and I think you've got a little bit on Poncho there. But
real quick before we go over to Poncho, but I just want to talk about Greg Wallace a little bit. I've had a chance to talk to him now a couple different times. I saw him there at Autumn Oaks, and he always has his son with him. He can't be 10 years old, maybe. Just got his mullet flowing, and I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he's all the time posting pictures of them outdoors together and at football games, and had pictures of him all over Autumn Oaks in front of our banners and stuff with his dog. He's proud of that hound, and he should be. They've made a good run at this thing so far. They've had a really strong year. And,
and he takes that son of his. It seems like we've seen him at this last several events that they've been to, Winter Classic and up here again. But I was on the phone outside the Kuhlman Center there at Autumn Oaks, and they went by, and I wished I got a chance to say hello at least. I think I waved, but that's about all the chance I got. And then I didn't really see him after that. But
it's kind of easy for people to get into the crowd at Autumn Oaks, and you can lose them pretty quick.
Yeah.
But shifting gears to Poncho. He's a 2017 model, male, black and tan, owned by Chad McCoyne and Brad Howell of Hartford City, Indiana. We mentioned that a little bit ago. This is a dog that is out of the dog that really put Chad McCoyne on the map, I think, an old dog named McCoyne's Black River Hammer. And this is a semen that he collected off Hammer to use on a female Grand Night champion, Grand Champion North Ohio Embry that's owned by his partner, Brad Howell. And I know Embry is out of Splitter, David Roughton's dog Splitter that he's done so much winning with, and then a female Grand Night champion, Honeycutt Smokin' Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been over to Chad's place before, looked at his hounds, and a lot of his dogs, when you look at his old rapper dog, and you look at even Sadie's a long-legged female, and he had the headache dog out of Kane Seaman and one of his females, just a big old blocky dogs. And this Poncho's a little bit different build. And I don't know if that comes from the Splitter line or what, but he's a more tight build, smaller style dog.
Yeah.
But Poncho has done a pile of winning.
He has. He sure has been. He's been a lot here in the last 2 years with that dog.
Surprised me that he was born in 2017. I kind of thought he had been around longer than that even, but he's hit the scene hard. And this year already, he had double cast wins at Winter Classic, 325 on Friday and 375 on Saturday. And then Autumn Oaks, I know 200 plus. Not where he has been before, and sometimes, but there's factors into it. And I think he'll be tickled to have a win because I know this Triple Crown is important to him, and he got qualified for the World back at Thursday night at Black and Tan Days with a cast win there. And I saw he's entered in the Portland, Indiana zone this year.
Yeah, and I don't think we're certainly not surprised he got Poncho through here, sitting where he is. Especially after the 2 cast wins at Winter Classic. He's those boys have pretty good luck at Autumn Oaks. Seems like they do guide. I'm sure that works in their favor. Take the dogs back to hunt where they're used to. That's always probably favors the home field. It has the home field advantage a little bit. But yeah, you mentioned the scores that they had, and same here with Indian Creek Nova at Winter Classic. Was a double cast winner, scored 750 one night, and then had a 50 plus cast win on the opposite night. Scored 3 1/4 at Autumn Oaks here a couple of weeks ago.
I think that put him right outside of placing in our top 5.
It did, yep. And what was the cutoff there? Was like 450, I think. 450 for night sim. So he's just out of that. Qualified for the World Hunt in Cottondale, Alabama, back in March already, where she also scored 375 there, and he's entered in the Clarksville, Georgia zone. So be interesting what happens. So next thing we need to talk about is some scenarios here. How can these 2 dogs lock everybody else out? What needs to happen?
Yeah, so right now they have 150 points. The next closest dogs have 100 points. So they have a 50-point lead going into the zones. We know that each of those nights of the zones are worth 25 points each.
Each night, yep.
If these dogs double up at the zones, put them at 200 points, these dogs here that are tied with 100 points right now will not be able to catch them. It's mathematically impossible.
Right. So let's look at another scenario. Let's say they win one night, Friday or Saturday. So you can get 25 points. Let's say that's all they do and don't advance to the finals. Obviously a dog can advance to the world finals with just one cast win, but let's say they earn 25 points one night and don't advance. So that would give them 175 points.
Yeah.
Any other dog that is at sitting at 100 points, what would that dog have to do to overtake a dog with 175?
Well, let's just say old Rex Robinson heads up to Portland, Indiana with chocolate chip. And Friday night...
Oh, boy, don't give him a big head here.
This may be unrealistic. Who knows, Rex? You tell me. But he gets his cast win on Friday night at the Zones. He's sitting at 125 now. He wins his cast Saturday night at the Zones. That puts him at 150. You just about, if you're at 100 right now, you just about have to double up at those zones to ensure yourself to be in the ball game.
You would.
So he's sitting at 150.
We're talking about dogs that are sitting with 100.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so he's sitting at 150 now, and this dog that you're talking about has 175. So Thursday night, round one of the World Championship, he gets a 10-point cast win. That's going to put him at 160. He wins early on Friday. That puts him at 170. He's still 5 behind. He wins late on Friday to advance to the final cast, and with that, he also takes the lead of the Triple Crown.
So basically what you're saying, they would have to be in the final cast of the world to overtake one of these two dogs that if they only have get 25 points at the Zones.
That's correct.
And if they get 2 cast wins,
it's
possible.
over.
It's over.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
So there's some scenarios right there. It's
And let's not lessen their spirits any. It's completely possible for Nova and Poncho to both go winless at the Zones. That happens to a lot of dogs every year. It's going to be tough competition. At that point, the door's wide open for any of these dogs that can do good in the Zones and advance to the World Finals.
Yeah, and let's say they don't earn anything, 150 points, then it's a matter of still, well, you kind of covered it there. They still need to go pretty deep in order to beat either one of them. So let's look at where are these two sitting in terms. Let's say worst case scenario, neither one of them, or let's say they're dead tight in terms of Triple Crown points. Who is in the lead? We go to scores after that, right?
Yeah, we'd go to scores, and right now, just doing some quick math here, I got Poncho at 900 points, and it looks like Nova right now is leading by total point total, so Chad has a little bit of work to do to catch up with Nova at this point.
Yep, looks like it. According to my math as well, Nova holds the lead in that in case of a tiebreaker.
Real quick, before we move on, we should probably give Merle his due. Sorry, this is a male English dog, a 2020.
For sure.
Male English dog, a young dog here. Just turned 2 in July of this year. Trent Willoughby in Watkinsville, Georgia owns this dog. And kind of a familiar name here, Grand Night champion Oconee River Whalen Jr., another Oconee River dog.
There's a Mark Looney dog there again.
I'll be dang. And then the dam of this dog, Grand Night champion Carol's Swamp River Queen. I don't know much about the siren dam of these, but of course you said Mark Looney, Oconee River, kind of a similar breeding there from Georgia. Makes a lot of sense. And even though Merle didn't make it through this year, she's shown that he's shown that he's a cast winner and may be able to make another run for it in the future. He's got a long ways to go ahead of him.
Yeah. So there's the 3 dogs down to 2. So it'll be really interesting to watch, see how that unfolds after the World Championship.
Now it's time to get into the part of the podcast that everybody's been waiting for, it seems like. We finally had our rule meeting at Autumn Oaks where you and I were joined by 14 representatives, 2 from each chartered breed association. We had kind of a roundtable discussion there and we hashed out thoughts on the rules, and ultimately they filled out a ballot and turned it into us with their official votes. And I was really encouraged by the discussions we had this year. What were your thoughts?
We had some really good discussions, really, and for the most part, I think the breed associations took most of these proposals to their breed day event. And I was impressed with most of them, how they did discuss all of these with their membership, and they knew for the most part how they were wanting to vote and how their members wanted them to vote for the proposals or on these proposals. And there was some good points brought up, this and that. And I think there was it's always good to talk about them. There's always going to be somebody bringing up some good points that somebody else didn't think about, and there were some good discussions. And we'll hit on a couple as we go through these.
We will. So are you ready just to jump into a couple here? you thought maybe a good idea to start out with the ones that failed. Not going to spend very much time on them, go through those, and then we'll get to some of the changes that we're going to see upcoming in our 2023 rule book.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so the first proposal I have here on my list that failed, I'll read it to you real quick. Alter the tree countdown to read that the second tree position closes after 30 seconds, third tree position closes after 1 minute.
Yeah, that one I think I think that failed 2 to 5.
2 to 5.
2 to 5. That one failed. So everybody kind of likes the current countdown that we have, kind of a middle of the road after 2 minutes. Only everybody can only get 25 after that, and everybody thinks that works well for us.
Yeah, and with the 3 minute tree time, not getting a lot of covering dogs out there right now.
Right.
The next one I see that failed. In any category, a dog to accrue 200 minus points, regardless of pending strike or tree points for running, treeing, or molesting off game.
Yeah, I don't think you and I thought that one would pass. I think it's something that that one is one there's more discussion on that one than I would have thought.
A lot of discussion, some amendments thrown out there.
Yeah.
A lot of good discussion, I thought.
Yeah, one of the things that got brought up, and I thought was good, is that brings up this, and it's just a matter of opinion sometimes, but what is worse? What is a bigger fault? Treeing off game, is off game a much greater fault than treeing a slick tree, making a slick tree or a blank, and there's some good discussions about that, and it kind of makes you think about things, but nevertheless, it failed.
Yeah, it seemed like some of it swayed from one discussion to the other, but ultimately, whenever the ballots were turned in, this one failed 0 to 7.
Yeah.
So, and we only had one more that failed there. We didn't have a bunch of proposals to begin with, but the last one that I have failed, put a time limit on handlers recasting their dogs after pulling them off a scoring situation, giving them a minute to recast their dogs ultimately.
Yeah, this is one, and there was a lot of discussion on this one as well, and I thought there were some great points made, and this one kind of surprised me, to be honest, but I think maybe more than anything, not everybody could really come to a good agreement to what would be a good amendment for it, and therefore I think that was part of the reason that it may have failed. But,
and you think it was, when you look around at the room, we had people from Central America, or Central Indiana, Ohio areas.
Mm-hmm.
We had a representative from Southern Mississippi. We had somebody from East Tennessee. We had somebody from West Virginia. And those different regionalities, we knew it was going to come into a factor on this, because 1 minute in Michigan is not the same as 1 minute in a swamp in Southern Mississippi, and not the same as 1 minute as a mountain in West Virginia.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, nevertheless, some good discussions on that one, but it did fail.
So 1 to 6. So that's interesting. And now let's get into a couple of them that actually did pass.
Yeah.
And the first one's going to be the pair of these warnings here. And we're going to go into a little bit of detail on them. The first one is removing the first offense warning from Rule 2A for handlers not striking their dog on or before the third bark. This one actually passed, but it passed with an amendment.
Yeah.
And that amendment was agreed on by all the associations to keep that warning in place during a youth cast, so during our YEP events and during our youth championship events, but removing it from the rule book for our regular license events.
Yeah, and this will only apply to youth-only events where they will give the kids a warning on the first offense, but not any other event, youth-only events. And we're not talking about when a youth handler hunting in a regular event.
Right.
They will have to follow regular event rules. This is only for youth hunts only, where they keep that warning, but everybody, that's going to go away for the regular rules. And I think that's good.
Yeah.
That was a good amendment.
Before we talk about it too much, let's just go ahead and bring in the next one that passed with an amendment, the same amendment, removing the first offense warning from Rule 2D for handlers calling the wrong dog.
Mm-hmm.
The same amendment passed by the associations, keep the first offense warning in youth-only cast during our YEP events and our youth championships. And in our normal license events, we're going to remove that warning, and the first offense you're going to be minus, second you're going to be scrapped.
Yeah. So going back to the first one, if you don't get your dog struck on or before the third bark after a minute of the dog having been released, you are going to be subject to a strike minus. Whatever that next available strike point, you're going to be minus on that on first offense. Second offense is going to be scratched, just as it was before previously. Right now, it would have been the third step, but that's going to be step number 2. And then same with the second one here for calling the wrong dog. You call the wrong dog, you're going to get minus that position. And
And we discussed this a lot between us, but before the rule proposal was even sent in, we talked about it a lot, and we're seeing this rule abused a lot. We talk about our TOC finals, our non-hunting judges from the TOC finals, from the World Finals, where there's guys who are just striking the first thing they hear, and they're going to make the judge put that warning to them, and they're going to try to take advantage of it in those situations. And I think that this was necessary.
And this passing now will eliminate all that and be back to the way it was before. And I think both of them are good. Were good ones to pass.
Both of these passed almost unanimously, and we'll have these statistics in our advisor column when they come out. But 6-1, both of them voted 6-4 and 1 against.
Yeah, and just so our listeners will know, we will go a lot more in depth with these changes, just not on this podcast. Where this one's just kind of to talk a little bit about the ones that did pass, and
we want to get the information out there for people.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're gonna hear this podcast released here, and then also look out for the October issue of Coonhound Bloodlines, where it's going to be in the advisor column.
Yeah, and even though we're talking about that today, these rules that did pass will not go into effect until January 1 of 2023. Very important. Very important. Not any one of them.
Yeah. So the next one that we saw pass, and I was a little surprised by this one, but change and combine rules for dogs treeing but not declared treed to receive the same demerit regardless of how the tree is scored. And this proposal specifically said to minus the strike points of the dog and not assign any additional tree points in any circumstance.
Yeah, and that's, before we always said, we're talking about a dog that's treeing but not declared treed. And you and I did a podcast here a month or two ago where we talked about, that was one of our topics. And it's one that got misscored a lot, so when the new rules go in effect, that topic that we had is going to become obsolete, and this is going to override that. But so we're talking about a dog treeing but not declared treed when you arrive at the tree. So we always said you don't know how to score this dog in question until you score the tree. With this new rule proposal, that dog it's going to simplify it. You will know how to score that dog immediately, and that is his strike points are going to be minused regardless of how the tree is scored. It does not matter. And then secondly, even there's no more going to be, if the tree has off game or is a slick tree, like in the past, we awarded next available tree points and minus that as well for off game or slick tree in the case of registered dogs for off game. That's no more awarding additional tree points. It's very simple. Strike points minus for that dog.
Yeah, simple. It's going to make it simple for the people competing in the events. And I don't...
one of the questions one of the discussions we had with that was, well, what about a dog that's shut out? Well, shut out will still take precedence. A dog that is shut out, his strike points will be deleted, does not have any strike points to minus. But yeah, dog treeing but not declared treed will be minus strike points unless they are shut out on that tree. They don't have any strike points to minus. It'll really simpliptake that.
Yeah, and it looks like the breed associations agreed. They voted 6-1 to pass that.
Yep.
Let's take a look at the next one here. Change rule 4B to read: strike points will be minus if none of the declared struck dogs open within 6 minutes. And this isn't much of a change in our rule. This is just changing what it was 8 minutes to now 6 minutes.
This one surprised me. Past 7-0, really, because I thought there'd be more talk about it or whatever. And it's honestly, I think 6 minutes is a good time. It's very simple. You had 8 minutes on strike to keep strikes open. That's now just going to go down to 6 minutes.
Do you see shorter hunting times? Do you think that's the reason for this proposal, or
probably a little bit? But yeah, so it wasn't much discussion on that, and I was kind of surprised.
I was surprised. Yeah.
But hey, nonetheless, it's going to be, instead of 8 minutes, we're going to be at 6 minutes now.
Oh, here's one that we fielded a few questions about over the past three years or so. Allowing the use of thermal imaging devices, cell phone cameras, and mirrors as scoring aids.
Yeah.
So this one passed. It passed to use it, but with an amendment.
With an amendment, right.
And this was one that was brought forth and agreed upon by all the associations when it came time to vote. And that amendment agreed was to allow the use of thermal imaging devices as a scoring aid. Only. Cell phone cameras and mirrors will still not be permitted to be used as a scoring aid during a cast.
Just the thermal imaging devices. Yep. Yeah. No, that's obviously there was a lot of discussion on that one, and I think that's probably the one that gained the most interest. And that one will come. A lot of discussion was had on that. One of the first questions that comes on up is, you still have to see the raccoon. You can't just use this if it shows there's something there. You can't just plus it because of that. And no, you can't. You still got to see the raccoon. All the thermal is going to do is basically show you where to look for it.
Yeah, there was some discussion about the definition of a scoring aid, and to us, it's exactly what we say there, an aid, similar to a squaller or a light. It's something that you use to pinpoint, to help narrow down where you're searching, to help you find the coon. And ultimately, on these coon hunts, when we're crowning world champions and we're giving away $50,000, you should make, I feel like every effort should be made to score that coon and give the dog its due credit.
Yeah, you're right. And it has had everything to do with the terminology, calling it a scoring aid. But that's what a light is as well. It's a scoring aid. So you can see it, and it doesn't mean just because you throw a light up there, we can plus it, but, and same with a squaller or a laser light. But yeah, this is no different. So
I've actually gotten a few calls about this, and I don't know if it's worth going into it a little bit, but you're getting calls about, are we going to have any rules permitting when people can use it based on the people in the cast using them? And in certain situations that people have to share them and stuff like that, there's going to be no rules like that. This is going to be similar to having a telemetry system. Not everybody has a dog tray out there.
Yeah.
Some people don't. Not everybody has a big high dollar light.
That's true. A good example would be a squaller. If I have a squaller and you don't, whether I use my squaller to shine your tree or to score your tree is, I guess, up to me. But yeah, it's not that I have to or I don't have to. But again, we're not going to go into a whole lot of dive into deep with this, but we will have more in-depth topics on this or conversations on this probably in another podcast.
Yeah, and
this will go in that same section where no scoring aids to be used other than a light, a squaller, and now also a thermal is what will be added to that section.
And the last one we have to talk about of the proposals. Altering Rule 11D.
7-0 on that proposal, by the way.
7-0 thermals. Yeah, that's surprising.
Yep.
And the last one here, alter Rule 11D, taking out the stipulation that you must hear a struck or treed dog open before recasting. It's another one that passed.
I was surprised by it as well.
Lopsided, 6-1, passed 6-1.
Yeah. And what that is simple again. Before, when you took a dog off of a scoring tree, before you could recast it, if there was any other dogs in the cast that were struck in, you had to wait until a dog opened before you could release that dog. But with the passing of this proposal, you won't have to wait. You basically just walk off the tree to a satisfactory distance, and you can cut. Doesn't matter what any other dog is doing.
Yeah, there's no running a 2, no running an 8.
So a lot of discussion on that, and one thing that got brought up, some good discussion. I felt like, one was that, hey, at the end of the hunt, now you rather wait till somebody potentially gets a minus, and open up strikes before I turn loose, whereas the other argument is, hey, I'd rather take my chances at the end of the hunt to turn loose and tree a coon versus banking or gambling that you're going to take a minus and that's how I'm going to beat you, So there's a lot of good discussion on that. But in any case, it passed where you turn your dog loose. You don't have to wait for a dog to open before you cut it loose. Pretty simple.
So overall, I think the rule proposals the proposals that passed were a positive thing for coon hunting. I think they're moving us in the right direction. I don't see anything in there that passed that's going to push us in the opposite direction of what we're wanting to always advance and move into the times. And I don't think that's going to happen, or we're not going to have any negative effect from these that passed.
No, we both hear some feedback that why do we need rule changes hard enough to keep up with the ones, from 3 years ago or whatever. But I think the guys that are actively hunting in the night hunts and some of our stronger judges, this is nothing for them to keep up with, and it's not that much at all. I think it just goes hand in hand with why it's good to stay on top of the rules. And it's a matter of reading the rule book, and so I think they're good. I think it's good.
A couple rules that pass, I think, are actually going to make judges' lives easier.
Yeah, and the one other thing that we've heard a lot, especially since the last rules changed 3 years ago, that we do have a good set of rules in UKC. And I agree, and I think a lot of the hunters are really liking them.
I know there was some discussions there that we talked about possibly 3 years isn't needed anymore with the set of rules that we have in place. We got a really strong rule book. People are enjoying the rules. We made some necessary changes in 2019's voting and this year's voting. And I think that we're to a point where we may see some variation there. Still talking about that stuff, but there was some good conversations about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We may hold off for 5 years, so we kind of left that up to us to decide. We get into 3 year into that period, we see something that we really need. We'll decide that then. Open it up if we really need to, but if not, we may hold off for wait for 5 years. But we'll see. So,
of course, all these rules here that we talked about were running rules. There were some procedural rule proposals that come in that we looked over, and there's one that actually we're going to implement into our rule book, right?
Hunt director's hunting. Yeah.
If besides thermals, that's probably the one that we've gotten the most requests for over the past 3 years since I've been here, for sure.
Yeah, and we've implemented it in a couple of our other segments, like the squirrel rules. Their hunt director is allowed to hunt and handle a dog in the hunt. We have it in our beagle rules. And it has worked out quite well. I think and it will here too, and we are going to implement this starting in 2023, where the hunt director can actually hunt a dog in the hunt. And I think where it's going to actually help us, that is a pro for this, is a lot of times maybe the club got somebody to be the hunt director that just wasn't as well versed as they should have been. And I think this allows us to have a better, stronger hunt director, managing the hunt and so on. So I think it's going to be a good change. And I think a lot of the clubs are going to like it. There's going to be a few questions, what to do with questions that come back before a hunt's over and things like that. Or what if the hunt director is one of the last casts in and things like that? What do they do with their scorecards? We're going to cover all that stuff. And most of it is just use common sense and be reasonable about it. It's not that big of a deal, I don't think.
It goes a long way.
It sure does. So yeah, we are going to allow the use of, or allow hunt directors to manage the event and also organize the event, draw casts and all that good stuff, as well as handle a dog in the hunt.
Going to be a lot of happy wives out there that don't have to sit at the club for 3 hours.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Good stuff. I'm excited for that to come through.
So the other thing that's going to come up with these new rule changes and everything, let's talk a little bit about a new rule book. When is that going to come out?
Yeah, so the new rule book will actually be in print and sent out starting early January of 2023. If you're a current Coonhound Bloodline subscriber, you're going to get it with your January issue of Coonhound Bloodlines. Otherwise, you're going to have to run us down at an event or order one on our store to get one.
Yeah, right? So there's a good chance here to pump the Coonhound Bloodlines a little bit. Be a subscribe to. You're going to get one with it in your January issue. Same with new scorecards. We'll have new scorecards for next year, and those will be sent out to clubs that are having starting with their January events.
Absolutely right. So, hey, we're really excited about these rule changes. I think some good stuff passed. Excited about where the Coonhound program is and our rule book is right now, and this is all positive stuff. So, hope to see you guys at events in 2023. Thanks for listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and to like and follow UKC Hunting Ops on Facebook and Instagram.